get started, shall we? All right, ladies and gents, I'll go ahead and call this work session to order. First of all, apologies to all of you for having to start a little bit late. I had to make an unexpected trip to Annapolis today. We had an airport commission meeting that was canceled, so we're in this room. We were supposed to be in another room. And our thoughts are with Mr. Spies. He has some flooding in his home that he's dealing with right now, so he can't be here. Unfortunately, weather related.
Seems to be an epidemic of that.
I think it is an epidemic, indeed. And then, our thoughts and prayers are with Ms. Shields as well, as her cousin, Mary Pinkett, who was a city council member, passed away recently. So it's an eventful and emotional time for many as we're coming out of this storm. So with that, we first have the expansion of the Arts and Entertainment District on our agenda. I'm going to ask Ms. Kortakowski to start us off, if you wouldn't mind coming forward. If she can come sit with us, and if you'll make the opening presentation, and then anyone else who would like can join after that. Tyler, you too. Everybody can come up and talk about the Arts and Entertainment District.
There's a, if you put it over here, Laura, I think that's
Right in front of the podium.
Podium. Yep, right there.
Got it?
We can kind of see it. And
Just slide it over just a little more, I'll be able to take a nap.
Bat shit. Thinking with the volume up again.
I wrote it down.
Everyone's taking notes, what did I say?
We'll just go back to the recording.
Hello. How are you, Mike?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good.
Laura?
So
Floor is
as
yours.
you can see from our lovely map, the proposed expansion would add another 12.92 acres to our district. Some of the more notable properties are River's Edge Apartments, the Port of Salisbury Marina, a few properties right off of Route 50, the Chesapeake East parking lot, and a lot owned by the city. And then up north, we added several churches, the Faith Community Church, Wycomico Presbyterian Church, including a building that they just recently renovated, the Korean Presbyterian Church, the entirety of the Boundless Playground, and another parcel right off of Route 13.
Okay. And do you want to pass it over then? Okay.
We can kind of parlay, I guess.
All right, more than happy to. Good
Mike, if you don't
afternoon.
mind saying your name.
Sure, I'm
and
Mike
role.
Wigley. I'm the treasurer of the Arts and Entertainment District Committee. I'm also an architect and president of Davis Bowen and Ferdale here downtown in the Arts and Entertainment District. And as Laura mentioned, we're looking to add 12 acres to what's already 72 acres of land designated for the Arts and Entertainment District. And part of that 12 acres is really just cleaning up some properties. The original line, for whatever reason, sort of cut across different lots. And so we wanted to go ahead and straighten that out so the entire lots were included and there wouldn't be confusion, maybe sometime in the future. But other than that, one of the primary reasons was to incorporate the River's Edge Apartments. They had approached us and have been promoting their housing development to make it available for the arts community. As we understand it, there are 55 active applications from qualified artists for those spaces. So we wanted to throw our support and include that property as part of the district. They're also proposing 2,500 square feet of display area, outdoor sculpture. They're trying to bring in local artists to commission some works for the community. So we naturally thought that it was appropriate for us to be behind that effort. And that, after all, is really what the Art and Entertainment District is all about. So try to promote and encourage that type of enhancement to the downtown area. As you know, we're really not an arts organization. We're an economic development organization with a very narrow focus on entertainment and the arts, and so that's what we're all about. The other properties north of Route 50, fairly close to the Chipman Center, which is already part of the district, incorporate 3 churches. Naturally, churches have venues that are extremely well suited for musical performances. There's outdoor spaces that can also be available for art and entertainment purposes. So we wanted to be sure to include those as well.
Just a question, a clarification maybe. The churches, for example, I mean, those are, I would think, tax exempt. They are exempt from their property taxes. I want to make sure that we understand the benefits of the A&E district. My understanding is that there's a benefit for the artists for the sale of their wares, or I assume that would also be charging a fee for service, so a fee for playing music. They would be tax exempt on the income, on the receipts of that. Would that only be the case if they were performing in a space that was within the tax exempt area?
That's correct.
Okay.
Because I understand it. I do have Lee Whaley and Connie Strutt here, they're co-chair for the committee, and so they might know a little better, but yes, I understand it.
So the base of their operations, let's say if they're painting in their studio unit at the River's Edge Apartments, they're up in their studio painting, and then they sell the product, they would be
Tax exempt.
tax exempt on the sale of that product.
That's correct.
But also if they perform, even if the base of their operations is, say, somewhere else in the community, if they perform within
They
this
come
district,
within
they
the
should be
district.
tax exempt.
That's correct.
Got
If they
it.
live within the county.
As long as they live within Wycomico County. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Heater. Okay, got it.
And I also understand that improvements that are made to buildings or facilities that are for art-related purposes are also exempt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Good.
If I can add a benefit, there are.
Can you come up to the microphone so we can get it on the record? Thank you.
Jamie Heater from the Art and Entertainment District Committee. These properties, there are benefits that come to the individuals, an individual artist, an individual performer, in the individual income tax exemptions or write-offs, however you want to look at it. There's certainly also benefits from a larger renovation, construction standpoint that people can apply for. But one of the main benefits that I think these properties we're expanding to are particularly excited about is more of an intrinsic benefit from a marketing standpoint.
Okay.
These areas are thrilled for the opportunity to be included under the A&E district umbrella for the sense of promotion.
Understood.
These places are now able to become a part of Third Fridays, be advertised as part of the district. It's being part of that more kind of intrinsic marketing umbrella and a part of this that I think is more of the primary benefit that I think everyone's after
Got it.
in these 12 acres.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense from a marketing perspective. I'm sorry, I interrupted your flow. I don't know if you.
No, I think I can.
Okay.
I thought Jamie came in and finished it right up.
Okay.
That was perfect.
Thoughts, questions from council?
I just have one question, and I'm trying to vision it in my head. The number 20 parcel that's included all the way up in that corner, 312 North Salisbury, what's there now?
That's the billboard.
That's
a
a
billboard.
billboard.
Yeah, it's where they always have the
Okay,
billboard.
that's why I
New
couldn't.
media.
White Shipping Center, yeah.
Form of art, right?
Pardon
A
me?
form of art.
Well,
Yeah.
we were thinking
Oh.
it could be a gateway to the Arts and Entertainment
Oh, I agree.
District.
I agree
So
as well.
that's what those two parcels, the one that is the city lot right next to Purdue, and then the one up there, those are both high-traffic gateway areas. That
Could
would-
and should be a
Should.
gateway. Absolutely. Okay,
That's why I couldn't.
Yeah.
Dover Downs.
Exactly. Perhaps
Permanently so.
That's the only thing I think I've ever seen on that billboard, at least for the last
occasionally Warwick.
10 years or so.
Occasionally
Yeah,
Warwick.
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that's right, that's a good point. That's a
Say
good
over
point.
the years, there have been occasions where billboards have been used to actually display art.
Interesting.
Rather than promoting a business or whatever, it was actually used as artwork. I suppose that's always a possibility.
Sure, absolutely.
If there are no other buyers.
That's right, they're in between,
One of several
That's right.
possibilities, right? All right, excellent. Other questions, other thoughts? Is there council consensus? Mr. Tillman?
No, I was just going to ask one thing. The documents that actually accompany my resolution is, what I have is the application form, and that has maps within it. Are those the maps you're referring to? There's not a separate, I don't have a separate map. It's all seems to be part of the application. Is that correct?
Yes. The
Okay.
maps will be part of it.
All right, then the only suggestion I would make, just for, technically, is to say that the district shall be as shown on the attached City of Salisbury Arts and Entertainment District application and the accompanying maps. That's all I would say.
Is that,
It appears that we're only attaching a map, when in fact, it's a whole booklet with a couple of maps in it, and those maps and the booklet accurately describe. So
Okay.
I would just describe that, don't say a map, because there's a bunch of them all in there, but they all define the same area.
If you give us that language, we can make that
I've already got it
adjustment.
written on
Okay,
mine.
well,
We'll
you
get
just
that
say
done.
it and we'll move it.
yeah, agreed.
Just a little, making sure the attachments are
Yeah,
there,
'cause
that's
that's
all.
gonna happen tonight. so.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
that's why I brought it up.
I just had two little minor corrections, and I could email either one of you before it goes off, but it's not a big deal.
Okay.
You want me to just, okay, on page 24, number 2, the "of" needs to come out of there. And on 24, at the very bottom, you mentioned, start with the leadership team, and first up is Connie Strott, but then later on in someone else's bio, you refer to her as Constant Strott. Probably just need to pick one way or the other. Yeah.
Which isn't counting.
No split personalities in here, okay? That's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Great presentation. I enjoyed reading it. I didn't even fall asleep once. Usually something with that many pages, I'm like, okay, I gotta move around or
How many items can we say that about?
I enjoyed it.
You must have read it first thing in the morning.
No, actually, it was late at night.
That's good.
Good. And my understanding is this goes to county council, in
March 3rd.
March 3rd?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And we thank the county for proceeding quickly with this. The deadline for the application is when?
April
April
1st.
April 1st, okay.
Are we confirmed March 3rd?
Let's
I'm 99%
Let's
sure.
implore our
Okay.
county
Let's-
partners
Okay.
to get it on their agenda by March 3rd. We appreciate that. Thank you, Tom, for working on that issue.
Yeah, and while we're passing out thank yous, I want to take the opportunity to thank the Arts and Entertainment District Committee and Laura for pulling all of this together last minute. As you know, we've been trying for some time now to get this finished up, and I think that collaboration between Laura and the committee really saw to it to get this thing done and ready for the county council and then ultimately for submittal for April.
Was
Thank you all
possible.
for doing that, yes.
I
Absolutely.
second
We're
that.
getting
You
it done.
proved it. It
Thank
was
you.
possible.
We're getting it done.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Well done and very clear.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's not really any concern.
No,
So you all see-
Council consensus to move this to legislative
Absolutely.
agenda later tonight?
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay.
And public hearing.
Good.
you.
And public hearing, that's right.
Thank
Very
you
good.
all.
Great.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
Connie Lee, thank you. And Jamie, thank you. Okay. All right. We'll do this dance first.
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the charter amendment decoupling the enterprise fund debt from general fund debt. Mr. Stevenson and Mr. Cordry? Keith, you're not contagious, are you? Okay.
So he says.
That's why they make these tables so deep,
Right?
the germ barrier.
Stayed away from everybody in our budget work session this morning, which I appreciate. Amanda and I were on one end of the room, and Mike Moulds is also not.
I saw
feeling
that.
well, and Keith were on the other end, so.
You didn't make them wear masks.
A lot of sanitizing going on and what have you. So, yes, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Cordry. The council has discussed this to a certain extent in the past. The long and short of it is that we are doing exactly what you just said, Mr. Council President. That is decoupling or separating the enterprise funds from general fund for the purpose of establishing a debt limit. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cordry, and he can give you the complicated version.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Cordry?
Sure. Yep, the charter amendment, starting at the first bullet, as Mr. Stevenson noted, enterprise funds are excluded from the debt limit formula. And it's hard to have a single formula that is tailored and appropriate for the entire city, for all enterprise funds and governmental funds. So this is going to allow us to formulate a debt formula that's suitable for the government funds. We made some clarifications as we were under the hood looking at the debt limit calculation formula. We wanted to make it clear when tax increment financing are counted in that bonded indebtedness, so we made clarification there to say it's only when it's backed by the pledge of the city's full faith and credit. Continuing through the document, we also made a clarification on grants, compensated absences, and capital leases, essentially saying that they will not be counted in bonded indebtedness. And we were in particular interested in that because we do have some grants that can turn into debt under certain conditions if we fail to perform. And that could lead one to say, well, should I or shouldn't I? Well, we intend to perform. So just to be clear, we're putting it on the side of the fence that says it doesn't have to count as bonded indebtedness to make the people like me who have to make these calculations make my job easier so I don't have to make that interpretation.
Okay.
So with that said, just in the overall, the formula, we reduced the capacity factors by 50%. You can see that what provided the limit was 10%, 4% of real and personal property. And so we just cut them in half. And we moved, and that corresponds approximately to the amount of debt that was thus excluded from the amount of debt that's included in the debt limit calculation. It's worth pointing out that even though this is freeing up some capacity in the general fund, as shown by the example, that we're still restricted by the debt policy that indicates we can only use for debt service 10% of our total expenditures. So, for example, last year our total expenditures were about $33.5 million. 10% of that would be $3,350,000. So we'll hit that limit long before we would hit this amount of debt that would be freed up under this calculation. So just wanted to let you know there's another policy out there that's guiding us as well. That's a pretty good overview.
That's a great overview, but it's still. Let me try to understand some pieces of this. The cutting of the basis in half. So going with a 50% base, is that essentially dividing the basis of which we will allow our debt limit to rise to?
Exactly.
Into enterprise funds and general fund, for lack of, I know that's
the governmental funds, we reduced the capacity by 50%.
So where does the 50% number come? Why 50%?
Just because.
That's about where we are now.
Because it came because it was, I think in the memo, it might say exactly, it might be 55 or 56.
55% of it was.
55% of the total debt was related to the enterprise funds. So 55% of 10 and 4% is a fraction, so we just took 50%. So we took out 50% of the debt, and we approximately, is 55, but so we moved that out, and then we have to reduce, if we moved the debt out and didn't reduce our capacity by 50%, we would have a huge increase.
Right, we would have a tremendous
So
amount of capacity.
we tried to move a similar
Take on
amount.
tons of more debt, which we obviously don't want to do.
No.
But I guess what I'm trying to understand is, 50% is close to 55%, which is where we're at currently.
Exactly.
Is that where it should be? What I'm trying to understand is, if we take out the revenue source, or revenue, the debt associated with revenue, such enterprise funds, for lack of a better term. And that's about 45% right now. Should it be? I mean, are there going to be costs that would be incurred? Is there debt that would be needed that would extend way beyond that 45%? And with our general, are we too high as it relates to general, or are we too low? I don't understand why where we're at currently is a good measure of where we should be.
Okay. Well,
I may not be
keeping it similar to
doing it.
where it is now, it was felt like that would
Because,
make everyone comfortable with, the formula, because it was once ascertained to be appropriate. But as far as any serious analysis of what it should be, I can't say that we did that.
And I'm gonna stop
That's-
talking a
that's a
minute
good
because
question,
I'm
yeah.
probably just confusing myself and everyone else.
Yeah.
But what I see is, it makes perfect sense to me to be separating,
Right.
debt that is backed by the full faith and credit of the city and our unlimited taxing powers, and debt that is backed by revenue. I get separating those things. That makes sense to me.
but if we didn't change those percentages.
Sure.
The effect that would have is that we would be doubling our borrowing
Yeah.
capacity
Yep.
in the general fund, and
Got it.
everybody go, oh, you just doubled your
Got
debt
it.
ceiling.
My question is,
So-
we just cut it in half, we took these two pieces and we set them like this, and we said, yeah, now, here are the new limits. My question is, is that where we need to be? Just because that's where we are, is that appropriate? Given what we have in our, you use the term under government funds, or general fund, whatever, however we want to define that. Given what operationally we have, what we have in terms of capital and maintenance expectations in the future, the population, our current budget, our current tax, structure.
Right.
Are we sizing that thing right? And then given the water and sewer and stormwater utilities and our expected revenue and our operations and ongoing and anticipated maintenance and future capital costs, there is the number right?
The simple answer is, my recommendation today would be that that you consider holding it essentially in a very similar, and for practical purposes, the same, because we moved out 50%.
Is it a
And
best
then-
guess
and-
because
and-
it works?
And the reason is, and just to kind of focus in on what the ultimate need is too, is that we need to make sure that we can move forward timing-wise with the increase for the water and sewer.
And- And this gets
wastewater
us there,
treatment
right?
plant. Right.
This
The
gets us there.
38 million, is needed for that purpose. So this accomplishes that. Now, as far as tweaking it, we always have the opportunity to tweak it further if at some point we felt like we had some other type of change that we wanted to make. So this doesn't limit us from not able to carve on this as we go forward.
Well, I apologize if my questions,
Yeah.
No,
not.
It's a good question.
I would like to ask, forget the financial side of it. What's the objective of what we're trying to accomplish?
There's two objectives. One of the objectives is to make sure that we can accommodate the debt that's going to be associated with the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay?
Because we were looking at having to raise the debt ceiling so that we could accommodate that. So rather than, when we started looking at raising the debt ceiling, and people tend to have a negative view of that, none of us really like to hear that we're gonna allow ourselves to borrow more money. In looking at it, made more sense to separate the two. And I'm sorry, Keith, I didn't
No,
mean
that's
to
good,
answer
that's good,
for you,
yeah.
but we've been having the discussion about, we're gonna have to talk about the debt ceiling, we're gonna have to talk about the debt ceiling as we get into the wastewater treatment plant. And since that's all enterprise funds, it was really exaggerating our debt on the general fund side by including this self-sustaining debt. So the goal, I think, the main goal is to have better reporting and see, okay, this is a self-sustaining enterprise fund, and here's the debt related, and here's the revenue source to cover it. This is what the city really owes based on its ability to tax and pay its debt.
The reason I'm asking the question is, for the people who are going to ask those questions, who are watching and saying, what are they talking about?
Right. And if
And there's
we-
a lot of them out there, trust me.
Right, and if we didn't cut that rate in half, from 10% to, or 10% to 5%, then they would say exactly what I was saying. Oh, you doubled your debt capacity, now you're gonna run out and go run up the bills on us.
Right.
That's not the goal. The goal is to keep us kind of where we are now, but to separate the two, because the general fund is more constrained by this debt policy. I'm assuming, and this is one of my questions, that there will be a similar but not exactly the same policy for the enterprise fund? Or
There's,
will it just be open, if you could pay for it, then you're gonna, you
Exactly.
could borrow it?
yes.
Okay.
So, and just also for the public, but also to bear in mind for why we're talking about this right now, the negotiation, I guess, with the state, would you call it a negotiation with the state, resulted in their offering of an amount of money in both loan and grant, and it's a total of about $66 million in loans and grants together that the state will be paying for this wastewater treatment plant. But a portion of that, obviously, as I said, is a loan, and we'll be paying that back over time. When do we start paying back that loan,
When the other one's paid off.
which is, can you remind me of the year?
18?
18?
Well, actually, we'll have a minimum payment of $150,000 for, I think it's
The first few years.
8 or 9 years,
Okay.
yes. And then it's amortized over the remaining period of time.
Okay, sorry.
So if
That's
it was-
0% too, right?
Yeah,
0%
the
loan.
entire loan is at 0%. Yeah, so,
I like that
so
rate.
Thank you.
Yeah, like,
very generous, very generous.
Can we buy one?
Thank you, State of Maryland.
Yes, definitely. And yes, it was a hard-fought negotiation.
I'm sure it was. So, okay. I appreciate you, and I'm not asking for academic reasons, I really want to understand why we're picking that number, and whether or not that the debt associated with government operations, non-enterprise fund operations, whether or not that's appropriately sized for our government and our current tax structure as well. I want to make sure we're not creating capacity that we don't really have the ability to take on.
yeah, we don't want to do that.
I do have a couple of questions. My initial response to excluding some of the items that you have here, like the compensated balances and the capital leases, was not a positive one from our calculation of our debt and our debt capacity. But I did a little more research, and FASB is working on a capital lease project right now, which GASB seems to be going along with, the Government Accounting Standing Board. And the plan is that they're gonna do away with all the different tiers, and they're just gonna be leases. And it looks like they're gonna allow them to be accounted for the way they used to be, as operating leases, and not, because you can sell them and get out of them at any time. So it's an operating expense rather than a capital expenditure. My questions around that were pretty well satisfied with that. I'm still a little leery, but that's because it was drilled in so much when they made that change, I guess. But the compensated absences, the rulings on that are kind of going the other way. And I'm nervous about not including that, because that is a liability that we have, and it can be pretty substantial. I don't know where our number stands right now for what our liability in compensated absences is. I started to look it up and I didn't get to it.
Right. Again, one of the reasons for not including those items, and to make that clarification, is if you look back in time when all of these calculations were made in the past, they've always been excluded.
Okay,
And again,
so they're not in there now.
so if we're doing it that way, but it's like the instruction manual doesn't say do it. It was an
Okay.
opportunity for me. I wanted to jump in there because I always felt like somebody could make the argument that, well, why aren't you?
Right.
And I felt like that it's, as long as we're consistent and we're doing it the way
Okay.
we formulated.
So we're not changing the recipe,
Not-
we're just writing it down, so it's consistent in the
Well,
future.
very, very, very well put. excellent analogy.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from council? We comfortable moving this to legislative agenda this evening, public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keith, thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I would need much more of an education on that. Great job. Appreciate it.
If we had to break down Lindsay Rader's language, we.
Yeah.
we would've-
We're gonna break
Now
it
that-
down, we're gonna break it down to this
You gonna
tonight.
read it?
That did put
Oh,
me to
that's it?
sleep.
Okay.
We're gonna break it down to that.
That one did put me to sleep. I did have a question though, before you go. On your Schedule 1, the debt limit calculated, when you get down to the second bolded line, total outstanding obligations subject to debt limit, I get how you've calculated in the 2015 GO bonds, but where's the 20,531,007, or 20 million, I'm sorry?
It's after subtracting the non-governmental, to subtract the enterprise excluded bonds.
Okay, I got it now. I think so. I was like,
No problem.
where's that coming from?
Gotcha.
Thank
Good?
you.
Yeah. Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do my
Good.
best to keep this very simple.
Thank you. Say that again, Tom.
I'll do my best to
Keep it
very
simple
at the
tonight?
Podium tonight.
Understood.
Yeah.
Now, the next item on our agenda is the main,
They're here, so.
Oh, okay.
All downstairs.
okay, that's
Them up here.
excellent. I was nervous that our bicycle advocates would be disappointed if we started early and without them.
I'm gonna ride the stairs.
Yeah,
Ride the bikes
ride
up
the stairs.
I'd be home.
Oh, yeah, so.
All right, let's put our bets down. How many bikes are coming in? We're gonna have a bike parade through
I'll be
town.
impressed if there's one. But that would be a great idea. They do tractorcades. They could certainly do a
Unicycles would be great.
bicyclecades.
Unicycles would be great.
There was a unicyclist in my neighborhood the other
Oh, yeah?
when it was on Tuesday of the storm.
What?
Snow tires?
I couldn't tell.
Tires.
Couldn't tell.
Tires.
Chains, studs.
He's just so dog collar.
Oh, my goodness.
gosh.
And it's only 4:45.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Let's officially take a 5-minute break.
Let's go call my mom.
Come back.